This is WOCA, News Talk 1370.
You're listening to WOCA, Ocala. Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA. Ocala.
25 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Thursday morning. Nice looking day. Do you remember the song? I don't think it was a hit, but there was a song by Harry Chapin, and just mentioning his name is an indication to those who don't know me that I'm pretty old. But Harry Chapin was the guy who had hit songs with the song Taxi and Cats in a Cradle, things like that. But he had a lesser known song called Mr. Tanner. And the song Mr. Tanner is a story about a guy who was what was he again, Robert? A tailor?
A tailor, I believe.
A tailor.
Yeah.
He was a tailor. And he was also a baritone. He was also a singer. And he always wanted to be a singer. It's kind of like some of the stories you hear on the American Idol or America's Got Talent shows, where, well, I guess America's Got Talent or American Idol is for younger people. America's, whatever. It's for the ones with the old. So anyway, so Mr. Tanner, this was before all those shows started. Mr. Tanner wants to be a singer, and I guess he saves up enough money to rent out a hall, and he puts on a concert, and so this is just this beautiful time for him. He gets to do his dream. There's an audience there, and the song says a smattering of applause, which kind of tells you maybe he didn't go over that well. But what really happens is the people who show up from the press who do reviews of concerts, and they give him a horrible review. They say he doesn't quite have what it takes, etc., etc. And it literally is the right use of the word literally in this case. It breaks his spirit. Literally breaks his spirit. And that's the story of Mr. Tanner. Harry Chapin, as far as I know, never revealed if Mr. Tanner was a real person or if he was maybe just talking about himself. I'm sure he had his own share of critics, and we all have. And we all have had opportunities, or times, opportunities is the wrong word, but times in our lives when we've had our spirit broken, whether from something like that, or perhaps somebody we love passes away, or anything can happen. It breaks our spirit. It is probably one of the experiences in life that we all can't escape. But is there a way to recover from a broken spirit? I guess you could answer that in your own way. Lee McCormick has a way of answering it. He's written a book about it. It's called Spirit Recovery Medicine Bag, a transformational guide for living happy, joyous, and free. I love that. It says here that Lee McCormick is the facilitator of the production of healing and recovery conferences and spiritual journeys around the world. He's the executive producer of the documentary titled Dreaming Haven, in which he plays the leading role. He's the founder of the Ranch Recovery Center in Nunnally, Tennessee, and he's the founder of the Canyon Treatment Center in Malibu, California. And I heard him tell you he is a former resident of San Augustine.
Yes, that's pretty exciting.
Which has the #2 best pizza place in the country.
Yes, it does.
According see now they had their spirit broken because they thought, we always thought we were #1.
Yeah.
Now we're #2, and it must have broken their spirit. Lee McCormick, good morning, Lee.
Hey, Larry, it's good to be with you.
Do you remember Harry Chapin?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Oh, good. So you must be old like us. Or maybe not.
It's just been an extended tour of duty, man.
Well, thank you for being on the air now. So where are you right now?
I'm sitting in my house on our ranch in Tennessee. I live most of the time just west of Nashville.
So is it possible to irreparably break the spirit? Can something happen so bad to us that we just never make a recovery?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I mean, I could say yes. I spent years working with people around a lot of issues, and it can happen, yeah. You can become so disheartened, I think, and your heart get broken so totally that, it's one of those things that it's kind of the blessing curse in a lot of regards oftentimes. Because really having your heart completely broken and your whole life completely fall apart, you know, it can take you out, and it can take you out, and you can wake up and basically be reincarnated, you know, in the same lifetime. I mean, you can completely recreate yourself, and it's.
Well, I love hearing that. I actually believe that too, and I'm guessing many of us have done this. You know, who comes to mind, and not who did this, but who didn't do this. You probably remember the father of Krista McAuliffe when she took off in this Challenger. He was standing in the stands down in over in Cape Canaveral, watching the rocket go up, and then seeing it explode. And the cameras were on his face. And he knew that his daughter was in that smoke and that she did not survive. And he died a short time later. So his spirit, his heart was broken, and he died from it. That's what I believe. That's what I've always believed.
Oh yeah, no, I totally get that. And of course, you see that with people who've been very close, you know, lifelong partners, and in one passes and the other one's around a year or two, and then they go, and you know, it's there are a lot of aspects to what we're talking about.
You do see the recoveries, though, and that's the good news.
Well, sure, yeah, and you know, who knows? I mean, life is largely a big mystery.
It is, sure is.
And so there's always other angles and other perspectives and other aspects to what's going on, and each of us is unique. So it's hard to draw a line and say, well, this is how it is, and you know, that doesn't necessarily fit. We try and live that way. We try and apply our knowledge that way. We've not been very effective at it.
You use the word happy, the words happy and joy. So many times, so many people think they're one and the same, but they are different.
Yeah, they can be, sure. You know, the term happy, joyous, and free, of course, is very synonymous with recovery, you know, with addiction recovery or whatever format of recovery you might be talking about. And, you know, happiness seems to be an in-the-moment situation, and I think joyous is more of a just kind of the way your spirit rolls.
That's a good point. Yeah. Do you know my mom passed away? I need to tell you that because this is part of that. And when she was alive, she loved everybody. She especially loved children. So when she died, there was no question the children in the family would be at the funeral. And let me tell you, as broken as our spirits were, because this wonderful woman who I called mom, who many people call grandma or aunt or whoever, whatever she was to them, she was lying there in the casket. And it was kind of hard to have a broken spirit when you had these children running all over the funeral home. They were just, I mean, they were really bringing a sense of joy. And I thought, well, my mother would love to have these children here, is what I remember thinking. And it clearly helped to heal the broken spirit that we all felt. Just by their joyous natures, the joyous nature of children running around, you know?
Well, absolutely. And in a situation like that, you know, there were little pieces of her in every one of those kids. There were imprints of her life and her energy and her love and her presence and everybody, you know, that was there. And so we may leave our bodies and go wherever it is we go once we leave our bodies, but my experience, we don't die. We go somewhere else, okay? And the energy and the impression and what we share with each other during our lifetime, it good or bad, it's absolutely passed forward.
You know, interesting thing, when people die, we always say that they move on, and I believe that too, so I don't want you to think I'm questioning that. But in an easier to see scenario, when somebody gets divorced, especially when they didn't want it, their spirit is broken also, and you know that other person went somewhere. They're just not with you anymore. And that's a hard spirit to fix too, you know. But we do. I mean, almost everybody who goes through that does pull out of it eventually.
Well, you do or you don't. It all depends on the tack that a person takes. You know, that to me is a little different scenario, because actually in that type relationship, my perspective on it is largely what happens is the story that we were telling ourselves about, like if I'm married to someone, the story I'm telling myself about that relationship and what's actually going on the other side of that relationship with my partner or my wife or whoever that is, when the story doesn't match the reality, that's where a heart gets broken. When the story we're telling ourselves doesn't match,
that's pretty profound.
Dream that we're holding.
Yeah, the book is called Spirit Recovery Medicine Bag. So we want to learn how we can use the book to maybe streamline our efforts to get back on track. That's the way I am. I don't like to feel down. So when I do feel down, I was like, oh gosh, I got to get over this as quick as possible. And sometimes it's easier than other times. So I'm going to find out what's in the book that will help me. Lee McCormick is the author of that book, and he'll be back with us as soon as we take this little break. Let's do that right now, and we'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Sunshine mixing with clouds today. Watch out for a thunderstorm during the afternoon and evening hours. High today 88 to 92. Then partly cloudy overnight, low 73 to 77. Times of clouds and sun tomorrow with a shower or thunderstorm popping up in the afternoon. The high 88 to 92. For Saturday, intervals of clouds and sun with a couple of showers and thunderstorms around in the afternoon. High 86 to 90. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Need a mailbox rental but need more information? Remember Personal Service Center, 789-6683. How does $10 a month sound with just a 3-month commitment? Remember Personal Service Center, 789-6683. Mention WOCA and the setup fee is waived. Personal Service Center will email or text notifications to you when your packages arrive. Even scan mail so you never actually have to pick it up. Now that's service. Personal Service Center, 789-6683. Located on the corner of Northeast 25th Avenue and 24th Street, Ocala. Look for the yellow signs.
Whether you're building it up or knocking it down, get it done, rent it now. Sunbelt Rentals is here to make your job a little easier. Our knowledgeable staff will help you find the right equipment for any job, big or small. Did you know that Sunbelt Rentals carries heaters, air conditioners, generators, lighting, traffic control, and so much more? So whether you're building it up or knocking it down, we've got the equipment you need. Get it done, rent it now. And right now, for a limited time, you can have it for less. Just by mentioning this ad, if you rent it Friday afternoon, you can keep it the whole weekend and only pay for one day. But this is a limited time offer, so stop into Sunbelt Rentals today, Northwest 27th, just a quarter mile east of I-75. For more information, just give us a call, 352-369-9101. 352-369-9101. Sunbelt Rentals. Get it done, rent it now. 352-369-9101.
Here's what you may have missed on the John Tesh Radio Show.
When we buy a vacation, we're also buying a story. So even if the happiness bump from a vacation is long over, when we retell the story of how a pickpocket took our phone in Cabo, we get a happiness boost. Because with every sunburn, we're speeding up the skin aging process. When we skip the burns and apply sunscreen every day, we slow skin aging by up to 25%. Research shows that our biggest diet mistake is usually alcohol.
Intelligence for your life on the John Tesh Radio Show. Don't miss this stuff.
Central Florida Eye Institute is the area's leader in laser vision correction. From high-definition refraction surgery and LASIK vision correction to custom cataract, glaucoma, and diabetic treatment, you can count on Dr. Crowley and his effective, friendly staff to provide you with the quality care you deserve. Call 352-237-8400 for an appointment or more information. That number again is 352-237-8400. Looking forward to service your vision needs.
12 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in to The Source this beautiful Thursday morning. By the way, this portion of AM Ocala Live is sponsored by Dr. Thomas L. Crowley at the Central Florida Eye Institute. You know, they can take care of your eye needs, whether it's something as basic as getting eyeglasses or an eye exam, to something more serious like laser surgery or corneal transplants. They do it all, including cosmetic procedures and diabetic eye treatment. Give them a call at 237-8400 or go visit them at 3133 Southwest 32nd Avenue. If you want to know where that is, it's right near the mall, not too far from where we're talking, as a matter of fact. If you go to the mall and past the mall on the Sears side of the mall, then you'll be in the general vicinity of the address, 3133 Southwest 32nd Avenue. Look for Central Florida Eye Institute. Their website is centralfloridaeye.com. Lee McCormick is on the phone. He's our guest up in Tennessee. He has a lot of credentials to his name, but he's talking today about his book called Spirit Recovery Medicine Bag, a transformational guide for living happy, joyous, and free. Lee, have you worked with people specifically who came to you for that one purpose of fixing their spirit?
Well, sure. I mean, that's an interesting way of framing it. I believe that largely what the vast majority of our collective suffering, you know, our human suffering in our individual lives is largely the result of the way that our culture over hundreds or thousands of years, how we've disconnected ourselves from the truth of our spirit. You know, we're taught that if we want to be good enough, then we need to fit in, and we need to follow the rules, and we need to live according to the judgments and the values and the opinions of the world around us, or the situations that we're born into. And there's very little acknowledgement or conversation as kids growing up about who are you as a young person, and what's in your heart, and what do you really, you know, what do you have a passion for? What do you love? What are your gifts as a child? And, you know, and even as a young adult. And so when we live our lives from the outside in, which is largely what happens, you know, we end up chasing accomplishment and validation, and try and earn credit, and try and be good enough. When we live our lives from the outside in, almost everyone at some point or all through their lifetime is facing challenges of, you know, of am I really good enough, and how do you really find peace and fulfillment when you're chasing someone else's version or story of what you
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. You know who I'm hoping hears that message, and whether it sinks in or not is another story, but we live in, and I'm sure you know this, Ocala is a large retirement community here, and so many of the folks I see that have retired go one direction or the other. They were either so identifying with their job, their career, that when they retire they almost felt useless, and their spirit gets broken. Or it's the exact opposite. They feel so free. Yay, I'm retired, I'm free. And it's really two totally different directions that you can see in a person's spirit when they have retired.
Well, you know, I've seen that a lot over the years, because I've worked in the mental health addictions, you know, recovery treatment world for 18 years now. And I've seen that over and over again, especially with a lot of very successful people, both men and women, that they grew up, they did what they were told to do, they worked hard, they built empires, or they were very successful at what they did, they made a lot of money, they acquired a lot of things, they had families, and, you know, for all intents and purposes, everything in their life should have been great, and they were miserable. And, you know, they wonder, why am I eating why do I need prescription pills in order to deal with my life, and why is there so much stress, and why do I drink so much, and, you know, why do I have multiple affairs, and what is it that's driving that discontent? And largely what my experience has been is that we're living a great life on the outside, and it all looks good, but we're not really living a life that's congruent with our own heart and spirit. And sooner or later, that reality comes home to roost, and the awareness of that's actually what's going on here can be a huge relief, because what we do in our culture is we judge ourselves. You know, it's like, well, I've got 2 homes, and I've got cars, and I've got children and grandchildren, and I've got everything in the world around me, and I should be happy, but I'm not. What's wrong with me? And so we judge ourselves. Well, I'm just not grateful, or you just don't appreciate it. You know, rather than the fact of the matter is, in your own heart, in your own spirit, you've never really followed or acted on what you might have done had life not pushed on you so hard and told you what you had to do in order to fit in and be good enough.
Wow.
And that's how you lead people into the dreaming section of your book, because a lot of people have dreams, and some never reach their dreams, but others do.
Yeah, you know, it takes a really, you virtually have to be what culturally we call selfish people in order to kind of live by your own heart and spirit. I mean, you've got to have the courage and the drive and the determination to say, you know what, this all looks great, but I'm not doing this anymore. I've got to be true to myself. You know, and it's true with men and it's true with women, and it's a very different dynamic between men and women. Again, we inherit these cultures that we're born into, and we inherit family legacies and family traditions, and you know, it's just a lot. So there's a whole reality waiting for us the day we're born. And that reality largely is not respectful of who we are as individuals. It's respectful of the values of the culture and the external world that's going on around us.
So sometimes I wonder when religion becomes the thing that pulls us out of that. I mean, gosh, who would argue that? I mean, if somebody says, "Gosh, I found Jesus and I'm so much happier now," well, that's great. We have Scientology in Ocala, and in fact, one of their pamphlets that they hand out is "The Secret to Happiness" or something. It's titled something like that. And while they get picked on, I'm sure plenty. Well, all religions do, but I'm just guessing that if you have hooked into that, or maybe hooked into the Boy Scouts or the military or something, if it brings you out of that, makes you feel whole, I don't know what you feel about that, but if it works, I guess who's gonna, have fault it,
Well, humans, we're largely tribal creatures. I mean, humans, we're human, we're animals too.
I know I am.
Yeah. Well, you love that pizza, man. Animals love it. We're tribal beings, and our culture, the culture of the United States, has evolved into an every man for himself. It's very isolating. It's very disconnected. And we need community, and we need a sense of connection and camaraderie. And religion offers that. Military offers that. I mean, if you look at the profiles and studies on military, there's a large percentage of people that go into the military that literally grow up in hell. I mean, their lives as kids is just a nightmare, and they're looking for structure, and they're looking for something that offers structure and security and accountability, because their spirit is seeking that kind of safety. There's a sense of safety to that camaraderie and that structure. I mean, and then there's the juxtaposition of, well, you're joining the military and more than likely going to a war somewhere, which is not actually a safety thing. But on a soul level, I think it attracts us. And, religion does offer the same kind of a thing. A lot of professions offer that. But it's a reflection of our culture. The culture of the U.S. today is a very disconnected culture. If you look at the nature of how our culture's evolved even from the 60s, the last 50 years, which, good God, it flew by. But
he must be.
Just the nature of who we are as a people has changed so drastically. And at the same time, when you compare the shifts in the culture, and then you look at the incidence of pharmaceutical drug use and, alcohol and street drug use, and just all of the ways that we find to medicate when we're inherently uncomfortable in our own skin, there's a direct correlation there.
Lee McCormick is our guest. We're out of time, Lee, but I want to make sure that the listeners get the information so they can get the book. The book is called Spirit Recovery Medicine Bag. And do you have a website, Lee?
Yeah, absolutely. It's spiritrecovery.com.
Okay, that makes it easy.
We also have a recovery center, a healing, addictions treatment program in Nashville called the integrativelifecenter.com.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And I'm guessing, even though we only barely scratched the surface of this, I'm guessing this would cover pretty much everything from addictions to heartbreak, like we talked about somebody dying or somebody getting divorced, that kind of a heartbreak.
Or people who don't feel worthy.
The way out of our suffering, in my experience, has been a reconnection to our own heart and spirit and reclaiming faith in ourselves. And that journey is very aligned regardless of what the external issues appear to be.
Yeah, you're a deep thinking man, Lee. Thank you for taking some time out of your day to be with us. Sounds like a nice place you're at too, by the way, the ranch in Tennessee. I'd like to be there.
Yeah.
The words just sound good. Thank you, Lee. We'll take a little break. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio. I'm Lillian Wu. The top 10 polling GOP